So, when a promise involves money, how do you actually make sure it's kept? Today, we're going to get into two really powerful legal tools that do just that: indemnity and guarantee. Now, they might sound super similar, but trust me, understanding the difference is a huge deal for protecting your finances. So, let's break it all down. Think about it. Have you ever co-signed a loan for someone? Or maybe agreed to cover a friend's rent if they were short? Heck, even just insuring your phone or your car accounts. These are all promises that involve money and, a little bit of risk. But what happens if things go sideways? Well, that's when the fine print really, really matters. You can think of contract law as this kind of financial toolbox. And inside that box, there are these very specific tools designed to be your safety net. They're there to help manage risk and give everyone a clear game plan for when things don't go exactly as hoped. All right, let's grab the first tool from that box. It's the contract of indemnity. The idea here is actually pretty simple. It's a direct promise to protect someone from a loss. One party is basically saying to the other, hey, if you take a financial hit because of something I did, or even because of somebody else entirely, I've got your back. I'll cover it. It's just a straightforward promise to make it right. Yeah, the best way to picture an indemnity is as a direct shield. It's a simple agreement between just two people. No middlemen, no confusion, no backup plans, just a really clear two-way relationship. So who are these two people? Well, you've got the indemnifier, that's the one holding the shield, making the promise to pay. And then you have the indemnified, and that's the person who's being protected from that potential loss. Simple as that. Let's make this super clear with an example. Person A promises to pay for the damages if their neighbor's tree falls and wrecks person B's fence. The moment that tree comes down, A's responsibility kicks in. They have to pay for the repairs. See? It's a direct line from the damage to the payment. Okay, so when does the indemnifier actually have to pay up? This is key. The obligation isn't some vague maybe someday thing. It starts the second the loss becomes absolute and certain. The fence is literally broken, there's a real repair bill in hand. At that exact moment, the liability is real and it's immediate. All right, now let's look at our second tool, the contract of guarantee. So if indemnity is that direct two-person shield, you should think of a guarantee as a three-person backup plan. This isn't about covering just any old loss. It's about securing a very specific promise that was made by someone else. The key phrase to lock onto here is in case of their default. A guarantee only comes into play when someone else fails to follow through on their promise, like not paying back a loan. The person giving the guarantee is essentially saying, look, if they don't pay you, I will. So unlike that simple two-party indemnity deal, a guarantee has a trio of players. You've got the principal debtor, that's the person who originally owes the money, then the creditor, the person or bank who's owed the money, and then the crucial third player, the surety. You might also know them as the guarantor. They're the one providing that backup promise. Here's the classic real-world example. So person Y wants a car. They're the principal debtor. The car dealer is the creditor. Then person X steps in and tells the dealer, go ahead, sell Y the car. If they fail to pay you, I will. In this scenario, X is the surety. They're not buying the car, they're just the safety net that allows the whole deal to happen. So a guarantee isn't really a single agreement, it's more like a web of three connected contracts. First, you have the main deal, the loan. Then you have the separate guarantee between the creditor and the surety. And finally, there's this implied contract that says if the surety has to pay up, they have every right to go get that money back from the person who defaulted in the first place. Okay, so we've met both of our contracts. Now it's time to put them head to head. And getting these differences is absolutely crucial because it defines who is on the hook, when they're on the hook, and for what. This is the showdown. This table really lays it all out pretty clearly. Indemnity, 2 parties. Guarantee, 3. The whole point of indemnity is to reimburse a loss. The point of a guarantee is to provide security for a debt. But honestly, the biggest, most important difference is the nature of the liability. So this is the thing to remember. In an indemnity contract, the indemnifier's liability is primary. They are the first and only call. They're the front line. But in a guarantee, the surety's liability is secondary. This means the creditor has to try and get the money from the main debtor first. The surety is just the backup, not the first call. This brings up a really practical question. If you agree to be a guarantor, a surety, are you just stuck with that responsibility for good? The answer is nope. There are actually specific situations that can legally end or discharge your obligation. Being a guarantor is a really serious commitment, for sure, but it is not a life sentence. The law totally recognizes that things change, and it gives the guarantor several exit ramps that can release them from that promise. So what are some of these exit ramps? Well, a huge one is if the original deal gets changed without your permission, you're immediately off the hook for anything new. Also, if the creditor just decides to let the main debtor off the hook entirely, well, you're released too. And this one's a no-brainer. If you were tricked or lied to when you signed, that guarantee is invalid. Here's a perfect example. Let's say you guarantee a bank manager will do their job right based on their specific duties. But then the bank goes and changes their job, adds a bunch more risk, and doesn't tell you. Well, you're discharged from your liability. That's a variance in terms. The original deal you promised to back up is gone, so your responsibility for anything new is wiped out. So look, if we boil all of this down to just one simple takeaway, it's this. An indemnity contract is all about protecting you from a potential loss. A guarantee, on the other hand, is about protecting someone else, the creditor, from a broken promise made by a third person. And that brings us to the final thought. From your car insurance to co-signing a loan for a family member, these concepts are just woven into the fabric of our financial lives. So the next time you make a promise that involves money, just ask yourself, am I the shield or am I the backup plan? Because now you know, knowing the difference is absolutely key.